I'm going to show you how to make a drum and bass roller track from start to finish. In this video, you'll learn how to make the drums from scratch, and then we'll write the bass lines and switch ups. Then we'll create the intro, and finally, we're going to arrange it all together. My name is 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗡. I've been producing drum and bass for well over 25 years with releases on esteemed labels such as Hospital Records and Critical Music. And now I'm here to pass the knowledge to you. All the sounds that I'm using today are available on the newly launched Deviant Audio Production Suite. Production Suite is a bundle of our entire collection of 12 packs, including sample packs, preset packs, and Ableton racks and kits. This bundle has everything you need to create drum and bass from the ground up, as well as other genres. It's perfect for beginners if you're just starting out. When you buy the Production Suite, you're saving 50% off compared to buying each pack individually. Check the link in the description to learn more. The way I like to produce is start creating in the middle of the track, which has the most energy, otherwise known as the drop. So we'll need to create some groovy drums and a funky bass line. The reason why I like to create the drop first is that's the main part of the track. That's the main theme, and that has the most energy. And once you build that part of the track, you can start deconstructing it to create other parts, such as the intro and breakdown. So let's start building the drums first, which is the backbone of our groove. And here's a common kick pattern for drum and bass. Note that I'm currently producing at 173 beats per minute. For drum and bass, it usually ranges from 170 to 175, although I have seen faster and slower. 173 is a good mid-range for our track. Now for our kick drum, I'm using the synthetic kick instrument from the Rough and Rugged Ableton kit. Simply go into the Rough and Rugged racks folder and pull out the synthetic kick. What I like about the synthetic kick is you have a number of macros which allow you to customize the kick. Essentially, this gives you an infinite variety of kicks just by modulating these parameters. That's sounding good. Now for the snare, I'm going to use the modular snare instrument from my Rollers Ableton kit. So simply pull in the modular snare instrument to a MIDI track. And just like the synthetic kick instrument, we can modulate these parameters for an infinite variety of snares. Now for this instrument, it's important to pull in the snare processor to make it nice and punchy. So right now, this is how it sounds. And then pull in the snare processor. And now it's sounding nice and loud. Now let's adjust some of the parameters of the snare. Let's make it a bit more higher pitch by adjusting the fundamental frequency. Perhaps adjust the tail. Perhaps we can play with the fundamental length. I like that. It's nice and tight. And we can adjust each of these layers that make up the snare. So let's bring the texture up. That's sounding good. And here's the kick and snare together. And let's fill the gaps between the kick and snare with a percussive loop. Usually a shaker or a tambourine loop will work well. So I'm going to pull the jungle shaker instrument from the jungle kit. And then there's an accompanying MIDI file, so pull that in. We can adjust the pitch using the macro. And the tightness helps as well. Let's hear it all together. Now I'm going for a jungly roller vibe. So I'm going to pull in some jungle breaks to give this a little more groove. And perfect, we have the OG Jungle sample pack, which has tons of 90s style breakbeats. I'm going to pull this dirty roller loop in. Now, since we're going for a more modern touch, we can align the kick and snares and transients to the grid using these warp markers. There we have it. Usually I like to just align the 8th notes, leaving the 16th notes. We call these ghost notes. Leaving these a bit off the grid makes it sound more groovy. That's sounding great. Now, just for more energy in the drum groove, I think I want a heavier break underneath. So I'm thinking of an aim break would be nice for this. And luckily, the Acid Lab sample pack is great for this. Lots of vintage sounding breaks with a modern touch. I'm gonna pull this dubstep style break. Loving the amen sound of that. Now this time I'm importing the sample into the Amigo sampler, which is an awesome emulator of the vintage 90s Amiga sound. I recently did a live stream of this sampler, and you can check it down in the links in the description. Essentially, you can cut up the sample, you can pitch it down and up. You can also adjust the sample rate, which makes it sound nice and gritty. I love how old school that sounds. Let's pitch it up. Now just to make it sound a little more modern, I'm boosting some of the high mids as well as this high shelf to bring up some of the high frequencies. And that's sounding nice and crisp. Let's hear everything together. And it's sounding nice. For added groove, we can add additional percussion on top. I'm thinking some of the percussive loops in the Rough and Rugged Wave pack. There's some awesome tambourine loops. Shakers as well. Even the wood blocks are nice. So I'm gonna pull this one in. Now this is at a slower tempo, but you can hit the half time there to make it faster. Let's just bring down the volume. That's sounding nice and tight. Once I have the drum groove together, I like to group my drums. Now I can process them as a group. Now here's a modern trick I like to apply on my drums. Adding a clipper to your drum group will make your drums sounding nice and punchy. Just be careful how much you raise the input by. I'm using Free Clip 2, which is available for free. I'll leave a link down in the description. Here's before. Here's after. Notice how it squares off the tops of the transients. Makes it nice and square, for lack of better terms. This technique also allows you to raise the overall volume of the drums without increasing the peak, since we're topping off those peaks. Essentially, you're able to make all the elements of your track louder by using this technique. All right, now that we have the drums down, let's get on to the bass line, which is the fun part. And I'm aiming for something wobbly, like old school V recordings with a new school touch. So let's pull in a wobble preset from my gnarly Serum preset pack. Let's use this preset. It gives us a good base to build the sound from. We can adjust the custom macros until we have something we like. I like using this 5th note parameter. Gives it that modern wobble sound. Let's adjust the drive and play with the rate. Now, don't be afraid to touch any of the additional parameters. For example, I might want to turn on this triplet parameter, which gives us a more funky LFO rate. Once we have the bass sound, let's write in some notes. And for my bass line, I'm going to be writing it in F minor, which is the most popular key in drum and bass, because it gives us a nice range of notes below and above F, where the frequencies still rattle most systems. Essentially with drum and bass, you want those sub-bass frequencies to really vibrate those woofers. And this key gives us a nice range of notes to do that. Now here's a tip. I usually like to leave a gap in the first beat and then start the bass line on the second beat. Let's drag a long note like this. And then I'm going to go into the envelope section and just make sure you have pitch bend selected, and then have it start at the top and bring down the pitch bend like this. So you get that descending pitch sound. Now we can adjust how much this pitch bend affects the pitch of the wobble bass. Just go into the Serum, and your maximum pitch parameter is over here. You can bring it down to -24. But I think -2 works for us here. Let's hear it with the drums. All right, the next step is we're gonna fill in this gap with another bass sound. So for the call and response bass, I want something with a modern wub stab bass sound. So let's look for a wub preset in the Wubs and Wobbles Vital preset pack. Some nice wub presets in this pack. Let's grab the wub lo-fi preset and then adjust the parameters. That sounds more wubby. Increase the distortion. That's sounding good. For this bass, I'm going to use a dotted 8th note pattern. Simply choose the 16th note grid and draw a note that's 3 parts long, and then just duplicate it across. Let's add a pitch bend just like the wobble bass. That's sounding good. Now for this one, I will adjust the max bend to just 1. That's sounding great. Let's hear it with the drums. That's sounding dope. Now remember that gap we had on the first beat of the bass line? Let's insert a completely different bass sound there for added variation. This time I'm going to use one of the bass racks from the Rough and Rugged kit. Simply go to the Rough and Rugged racks folder, and I'm going to be using this player's womp rack. Adjust the parameters. I'm liking that one. Simply enter a note on the first beat. Now that's sounding super fat. Now here's the thing I've been doing to my bass sounds recently, and more of a modern thing. People have been using OTT for years, but I've been kind of slow to pick this up. I like to use this to bring out some of the mids of the bass line. So before we had this, and then with OTT. Similarly with the wub sound before, after. Simply I'm bringing up the mids a little. The important thing is to increase this time amount. That way it doesn't sound super compressed. It kind of has a slower, I guess, attack so that it keeps the dynamic of the bass sound intact. Otherwise, if you have time up here, it sounds squashed. Now, if you want that, by all means. Okay, that's sounding good. Let's hear it all together. Amazing. Once you have a nice groove, and this is a 2-bar groove, we can stretch this across the arrangement for a 16-bar block. Usually in drum and bass, we have changes every 16-bar block or segment. So having this is a nice building block to arrange our track. If you want to learn more about arranging drum and bass, check this video up here. Now to make drum and bass more interesting, it's good to add switch ups at the end of the 16-bar segment. And so we're going to introduce a 2-bar drum and bass switch up here. So for the drum switch up, I want some drums with a lot of energy, and a perfect pack for that is DJ Crystal's Fragments. So check out some of these breaks. Lay low break is perfect. Let's pull this in. I simply just need 2 bars. This section is great. And for the bass switch out, I'm going to use the Blade Reese instrument rack from the Rough and Rugged kit. I'm going to pull in the Dev 81 plugin, also from the Rough and Rugged kit. This tool allows you to boost some of the highs and mids to make it sound nice and gritty. Now for the bass line, I'm playing the root note, which is F, and then going an octave up to F2, and then playing the adjacent note, which is E. This is often done in drum and bass. Now instead of playing these notes one at a time, I find it nicer to use the note glide to go up the notes. So let's mute these notes and use them as a guide on where to go. So go to the MPE mode. Let's stretch the note all the way, and then simply use these dots to follow the note. So I have it going up to F2 and then down to E2 like that. So having slides will make it nice and funky. That's sounding nice. Let's hear it with the drum. Dirty. Let's go back to our 16-bar phrase and cut this section out, and we'll replace it with this switch up. that's sounding nasty. Now let's find some harmonic layers to add on top to make this track sound a little more interesting. I'm thinking vocal loops or guitar loops or even pads. Now a good place to look is 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗡𝗙's vocal pack, which has a number of fully recorded songs. She's also included these fragments of different hooks and verses, which you can use as loops.
Now there's no one left to blame. Please talk to me. You know I'm still no answers. But don't let go, don't let go, don't let. But I won't let go, won't let go, won't let.
So let's pull the "Won't Let Go" sample into our track. Now notice it says this track is an E minor while our track is F minor. So simply go into the sample and pitch it up one semitone up, and now we'll be in F minor.
But I won't let go.
Let's add some effects on the sends.
But I won't let go, won't let go.
And that's sounding sweet. So hearing this vocal sample is giving me some ideas for the intro. So let's pull in some of the drums and the vocal into a new section. Now let's add some additional harmonic layers, which will act as a guide on what additional notes and sounds we need in the intro. So I'm thinking pad sounds and guitar sounds will be great. A good place to look is the Rough and Rugged Wave Pack. There's a number of acoustic and electric guitar sounds and piano loops in here, which we can draw from. Here's some of the pianos. So I'm thinking pulling one of those electric guitar sounds. I'm gonna look for the one that's in the E minor note. I'm liking this one. It's giving me old school metalheads and Goldie vibes. Think Dragonfly. So let's pull that right into the track. Once again, since it's an E minor, let's pitch it by one semitone. It's sounding nice. Now with the guitars, I'm thinking a pad sound would be nice underneath. And the OG Jungle sample pack has a number of really cool pad sounds. Let's use the C minor 7th one over here and pull it into sampler. And then let's play some notes like this. Very old school sounding. Add a bit of reverb and delay. That's sounding beautiful. Now that we have a bed of harmonies on top, I'm hearing some lead sound. I think a pluck sound would be great for this. So here's a pluck sound from the Gnarly Serum preset pack. I'm going for that modern pluck sound. So this preset is great for that. Now for the melody, I'm writing something simple with repeated notes like this. Now here's a really cool trick with Ableton Live 12. If you select these repeated notes and then use the time warp function over here, we can adjust how the notes are spread out across the grid. So if you increase it, you have this accelerated pattern like this. And this has been a popular technique in drum and bass and even melodic techno recently. You can apply it to the other ones as well. Select and just click transform. Makes it sound nice and funky. And with a little bit of editing of the parameters of time warp, the final melody looks like this. I muted some notes. Let's hear it with everything else on top. All right, so we have a pretty nice sounding intro. Now we can arrange the track. Remember, I mentioned how having 16 bar sections or blocks makes it really easy to arrange the track. So I've a 16 bar block intro followed by a drop here and then a bass change up here and then another change up here. With the bass change up on this second block here, I simply adjusted some of the macros of the Serum presets using an automation lane. So the bass sounds like this here. And then on this third block here, I muted or adjusted the filters of the bass sounds. Remember, every sound and preset that I'm using today is from the Deviant Audio Production Suite. You can find a link in the description to learn more about this bundle. All right, let's hear this track from start to finish. Alright, and we have the beginnings of a banger. Just one thing I missed here is with this wub bass line, I have this section here in the middle at the 8 bar mark, where instead of a descending pitch, I have the ascending pitch here. Just add some variation to the bass line. Alright, I hope you enjoyed watching me create a drum and bass track from start to finish. Remember, my technique is to build the middle of the track first. Then we can deconstruct the elements to create other parts such as the intro and breakdown. And it helps to have harmonic layers such as drones, vocal loops, or even guitar loops, because that acts as a guide on what other notes we can write on top. Then you can easily find other elements such as the pluck melody, which can be used in the intro. And before you know it, you have a drum and bass banger. Comment down below and let me know what style of track you want me to create next. If you want to learn how to make more drum and bass sounds, check this playlist up here. And if you want to get deep on drum and bass drum programming, check this playlist up here. Alright, thanks for watching guys. Until the next video, stay creative and peace out.